Welcome to another episode of the Black Eskimo Podcast. I am your host, David DaCosta.
There's like 200 plus different nationalities here, tons of people from all over the world. So I'm sure there are people from Namibia who live in Toronto. I just don't know them, you know?
Well, okay, so this is the thing.
Yep.
Like I don't Namibians don't really leave Namibia. Like Namibians are very chill people, and I think it's almost like we're too chill. And we've been through like a little baby genocide, you know.
Not like Rwanda though.
No, for real.
Okay.
Well, at least my tribe,
hmm
like the Germans perpetrated a genocide and killed off about 80% of our tribe, 88% of our
Ooh,
tribe.
wow.
You know, they did like a practice genocide on
hmm
our people
hmm
before we were in concentration camps. They did everything.
hmm
So there's and then after that we had apartheid. You know, like it's literally like we were part of South Africa, and then until 1990, which is why my name is Netsanet, which is the Ethiopian word for freedom. I
Oh.
was born the year that we got freedom.
Okay.
So
Okay.
my name translates because Nazanet is freedom, and then Wapewa and Tjirongo are roughly in both languages. My name translates to our gift of freedom.
Okay.
You know, I think it's interesting because when I became a U.S. citizen, they were like, you can change your name to an easier name, and I
Oh
was
gosh, like Donna.
and I was like, absolutely not.
No way, no way. But people do it all the time though to blend in though. Yeah,
Oh,
people.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Professionally,
Yes.
especially as I am making my way in film,
Yep.
it's incredibly important for me to have my name
Yes.
be sort of actually incredibly present, so that
Yes.
people understand that I am an African and that this is who I am. Like it's really important that
And
is
you know what?
actually.
And that's the first thing that jumped out at me. I was like, oh, okay. If she's not from Africa, then she's of African parentage. That's the first thing I thought. She. I didn't know the origin of the name, but I knew it was African. But let's jump into that. Let's jump into this idea
Yeah.
of name recognition, culture, history, but as it pertains to, as you said, wanting to put that out there as a filmmaker. Um, how did that start? Because funny thing is, I'm a film critic, but I'm also a filmmaker. But I want to know. I find that very interesting. And then the kind of film you chose to produce. I don't know your history with it. So give me some information. Give me some insight on that as far as what got you into filmmaking, and then we'll get into what made you make this particular film, which really jumped out at me. So you're saying,
Okay.
yep,
You know, the irony is that so we'll do the two. There are two different streams, right?
yep.
So my parents met in New Mexico. They met because they were both economists. They had
Economist. Okay. Okay.
economists.
So did that spill over into you as being educated?
Yeah.
You sound that way. What did you go to school for?
I did scam my way into a writing. I
Uh,
scammed my way into getting into creative writing.
okay.
For school.
Uh-huh.
I convinced my father that I would be going to law school and that
Mm,
I would be able to write torts. And
okay.
that the best way to be able to do that.
Is take a writing program. Okay. Okay.
See, the irony is that my father's line, his like genetic line,
Mm-hmm.
is actually the storyteller line,
Okay.
and
So it's in you.
and it's in me,
Yes.
right? He never actually revealed that about us, because the reality is that like my dad needed to make money, and he was able to get his family out of poverty. He
Mm-hmm.
was able to bring like generations out of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My dad was born into apartheid, and so was I,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a lot of generational trauma.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, my mom is Ethiopian.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of generational trauma there as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so you have
You know
to
what's
sort
interesting?
of,
Let me say, I'm sorry, I had to jump in for a second. I've seen in the last few years, I think since 2021, I've seen some very interesting films about Ethiopia. I actually interviewed an Ethiopian filmmaker here in Toronto who she was actually a producer. She lived in Ethiopia for like 5 years in the last 5 years, but she's been back and forth. And wow, Ethiopia! I didn't see. I know about Ethiopia through Haile Selassie and the whole
yeah.
Rasta thing, but I didn't know all of the stuff that was going on, the Red Tear and all the. I was like, whoa! Like her
Oh
film,
my God.
her film gets into that. Gets into that.
You know, it's funny that you should mention that.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with stories about that because my mom was part of the revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was a student, and so I grew up with stories about that. Like my mom was a communist. And so like I grew up with this is the background that I grew up with. And you know, and that was really exciting, you know, like growing up with like a very leftist mother who was like, no, I will indoctrinate you. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not gonna like maybe tell you that these are things. Like, she was like, no, you also will believe these things. Like, you know, having these sort of ideas around me, and also sort of understanding that this is the legacy that I come from. My mother was the first person in her family to go to college. You know, my mom was one of 11. You know, her mother was 14 when she got married. You know, like this, you know, like in the farmlands on the border of Somalia and Ethiopia, you know, like constantly being raided. And so, yeah, that's the legacy that my parents came from. Both the first people to go to college. My dad, the reason why we were in England was because my dad was getting his PhD from Oxford University in economics. It's only relevant, the England thing is because in England, in Oxford specifically, was when I sort of took to writing, because it's like, you know, the kids. And my parents hated that. And but it was too late. I was very into it, and from there the arts were just sort of where I took off. And yeah, from there I was good at math. I was good at all of those things. I skipped 2 grades, but yeah, that was it for me. And yeah, from there, you know, I was on stage all the time. But I remembered more than anything was that I was always the black something, you know, and I knew constantly, like, you know, I was even from in high school, you know, I realized that I could never really be an actor, like a professional actor. I could never really go to Hollywood because I was always going to be second something, because I could see my white like colleagues, you know, get these meaty roles, but I could never see that for myself, because I was always going to have these problematic parts. You know, there was nothing that I could see for myself unless I wrote those things for myself.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So I was like, I need to go to school for writing. And so that's where I came up with the idea that that was what I was going to do.
So it wasn't about documentaries, it's more about like narrative-based films initially, and acting initially, and then obviously acting led to directing and making films or producing. Where does that stand right now? Are you still acting? Are you writing fictional films? Are you directing?
Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't just produce this. I also directed it.
Oh, you directed it away. Okay, I got you. Okay. No. Listen, I have to ask to make sure. I know I browsed through the credits and I saw your name as a producer. I don't think I saw your name listed as a director as well. Okay, so that's okay. Directing, producing. Okay, cool. Okay. So no more acting then, or is that something you're gonna put on the back burner?
I realized that acting is like when I watch actors, acting is something that it requires a lot more. It requires a vulnerability that I don't really. I think actors do something really well that I can appreciate as someone who has acted. But it's something that I can see that I like being a stage actor. But I think
okay.
camera acting is a different sort of type of acting, you know?
I want to jump into the film, and
Okay, yes,
I'm
yes.
very intrigued by. It's funny, of all the things that could have jumped out at me, the thing that jumped out at me was the fact that the male is African, and
Hmm.
from what I can see, the female or his partner is African American, I believe. I could be wrong on
Yeah.
that. And now that I find out you're African, what is your relationship with these people? Because it just seemed like, do you know them on a more personal level, or did you just kind of choose them as someone to feature?
Okay, so okay, so my like directing partner on this
Yep.
actually went to college with Ken.
Okay. Okay.
And I will say that Ken is like unlike any other person I've ever met. Like
He seems like a really cool cat, like easy, laid back. Because even within the context of what they're dealing with, okay, I'm gonna get into that in a second, but I want you to continue. So your partner went to school with him, okay? Yep.
and yeah, they've known each other for about like 17 years.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, so he brought this story to me and was just like, hey, like Ken just told me this crazy story, and I was like, oh my god, this is insane. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
this story has to be told. Like we have to,
Yeah.
we have to shoot the story. Like this is insane. And you know, and we went back and forth because I'm forever talking about sort of the way that Africans are with animals, you know, and and I'm like, this is even crazier because of this, you know, and so
Mm-hmm. I look at it within a black framework, because to me, I don't really know, like here in Toronto, Jamaica's different because people have dogs as guard dogs. They don't have dogs in their homes as pets that they're taking care
yeah.
of. That's not their thing. Here in Canada now, I've been seeing a growth, especially in the last 5 years or so. I've been seeing more and more black women with dogs. I'm like, black women with, and I've stopped them. I'm like, what do you? I go, wow, you have a dog? They're like, yeah, and I'm
I
like,
have a dog.
huh? Pardon me?
I have a dog.
I
I have a
know,
tiny little
but it's
dog.
not. It's something that's just
No.
gradually happening. When I was growing up, like if you go back 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, I don't recall ever seeing black people with dogs. Never. It was we didn't do it. But I feel what's happened is, whether you come from Africa, whether you come from the Caribbean, or whether you were raised in a household of one of those places or one of those cultures. I mean, African culture is the broader culture, but black, we'll say, you didn't have a pet. Maybe you had a hamster. Maybe you had a rabbit. Maybe you didn't have a dog, and you didn't have a cat either. And so to me, it's like, it's interesting to see that that's becoming. So when I look at your film, Savi the Cat, it's like, okay, wow, these are two black people talking about a cat and having a pet. That's something that's really come on the radar for me in the last 5 years. People, I mean, historically, I'm sure people had dogs. Like I know some guys who had dogs years ago, but now it's more commonplace now. More commonplace.
Well, you know, for me, when he told me this story, I thought of two things.
Yeah.
Number one, this is very generational.
Yes.
If for any other generation, this would be a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a reflection of the fact that millennials, more than anything else, can't really afford to be having kids like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, really, this is kind of like a holder, right? For sort of everything in a relationship, right? This is a placeholder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like a testament to black love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yes, this could be anything. Like I've told so many different people.
You could tell that he really loves her though, and and he was really accepting it on the basis of how he felt about her, because there are a lot of brothers who be like, I don't think so. I can't, like, give me a break.
Oh hell no!
Give me a break with
This
that.
stuff is crazy.
Give me a break with
I mean,
that. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
With the spraying, when they mentioned the spraying, I was like, I'm out. Like,
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Like honestly, To be fair, like I can't even deal with the peeing in the house, like the
Oh
idea
my,
of
yeah, that spraying thing. I was like, oh Lord have mercy. Well, that's the thing too. Like
any
I
animal
like
that is
the
pooping in your
tolerance, the
home.
tolerance of people with either cats or dogs is amazing. Because I mean, the things they do now, scratching up the furniture. I mean, there are all these things they
No,
do. I don't know. I don't. I would say that this film, I think, is going to get a lot of run. I think people are going to be like, wow, black people. Wow, that story. I don't think that the average white pet owner would be surprised by what you're saying in the film. But I think when you put it within the context of blackness, it's like, whoa. I think you need to really. I don't know what your plan is in terms of getting it out there, but definitely put it out there. I think this would be interesting within a black festival, and obviously you can do all kinds of festivals across the world.
we premiered at a black
Oh,
festival.
did you?
We premiered. Oh yeah, absolutely. It was really important to do that.
Yeah.
I didn't. We didn't want to like personally. It felt important to do that because you could premiere at like like a prestige. It
Yeah.
felt important to
Yeah.
premiere at a black festival.
Yeah.
And honestly, I will say this before we end.
Mhm.
Um, we shot this in August of 2021,
Okay.
and it felt really like spiritually important like to shoot this because of sort of where we were in America, really,
Mm.
because these people were really joyful,
Yeah.
and at that point we had seen so much fucking
Yeah.
destruction
Yeah. Yeah.
and sadness
Mm-hmm.
and death,
Mm-hmm.
and just being in the presence of just like blackness,
Yes. Black love.
happy,
Black love. Yeah.
and creation, like
Yep.
just like people going through something.
I appreciate your time. Great conversation.